Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Big Ten champions. Big Ten champs.
National champions, yes.
Oklahoma City bound the Oregon Ducks.
Awesome day to be a Duck, man.
Boom inside. Touchdown Oregon. He gets loose. Fires. Hit. Pops the three. Oh, yeah. It's all Oregon.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider.
It's about how to be a group of people that know how to love each other to the absolute fullest.
Pleasure, joy to be with them each and every day. And I can't wait for the future.
It's just fun to be a part of a community that cares, that is passionate, and when we come together, powerful things can happen.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
A strong weekend for Oregon athletics over the course of the entire weekend, especially on the diamond. Both Oregon softball and Oregon baseball got rivalry series victories this weekend. It is always important whenever the Ducks go down to Los Angeles to play UCLA on the softball diamond, and when Oregon plays against Washington in any sport. Successful weekends for both of those teams as we get closer and closer into postseason play, ever approaching, and for Oregon softball, it's here. We'll talk about that, as well as Oregon track and field, who had a pretty big weekend on the track with a school record and multiple top 10 finishes. Oregon men's golf was at the Big Ten Championships. Oregon volleyball releasing their opponents for this upcoming fall season on the indoor scene, and a lot more. Ryan Milano with you in the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider here on a Monday, breaking down a big weekend. But I think that the most fun that was had this weekend was probably the surplus sale, because everybody in Eugene, with both the men's baseball team and the women with the softball team that were on the road, well, it meant that there was pretty much everybody here in Eugene getting ready for the surplus sale. I mean, this line was massive. It just kept looping around and around and around, and it was a whole lot of fun. And I think that the best moment of the year, or one of the best moments, is when we get to see the winner get the Oregon surplus sale lottery victory, and when it's announced to them, it just feels like you're winning on Christmas morning.
What do you have? 37. I have 37. No way. 737. All right. Congratulations.
Number 737 getting it done, and I think that 738 and 739 were even happier than 37 was. I'm not sure that 737 knew that they meant that they were going to be the first in line for the surplus sale. But as we were talking with Aaron Wasson with Pooh a few weeks ago, he was like, yeah, it's not even as much as the reaction for the person who's first in line, but it's everybody else with him, because the difference between first and 10th is really nothing. And so to get those people in line that excited, 737 was like, yeah, cool.
But 736.
736 was not having fun.
No, not having fun.
736 was not having fun. But 738 and 739, they were having fun. And that was the voice of Scott Phillips. We were talking Kentucky Derby on Friday before the weekend, and both Scott and I picked the winner of Golden Tempo. Golden Tempo won the Kentucky Derby. And if you listened to the show on Friday, you know that both Scott and I mentioned that name. We didn't. We had no idea. We came in today, and we listed on the show on Friday probably 20 names in the Kentucky Derby. I don't think Golden Tempo was even named. But it was so fun to watch the comeback in the Kentucky Derby. Scott and I relived it this morning in the studio, and it was like, oh, yeah. That was cool. So a good sports weekend all around, but focusing in on Oregon and the wins that the Ducks had on both the baseball and the softball diamond. First, starting with Oregon softball. Coming into the weekend, this was a massive series for Oregon in terms of the Big Ten standings, because the Ducks had a chance to win the Big Ten coming into the weekend, and they also were positioning with UCLA, who also had a chance to win the Big Ten coming into the weekend. And Not to mention, it's just a road series against UCLA, which is so vitally important coming down the stretch run of the season. Now, Nebraska, they were able to lock up that top spot in the Big Ten, but Oregon and UCLA competing for that bye. Both teams had already clinched the bye, but competing for the number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament coming up now this week. Oregon headed into the Big Ten tournament, and the winner of this series was going to win that head-to-head matchup, whether it be Oregon or UCLA, up for that second spot. And, well, if things broke right, then it could have been a Big Ten championship, but unfortunately Nebraska took care of business against Penn State. Let's break down how the weekend happened, because on Friday it was an 8-2 victory for Oregon against UCLA. The Ducks blew open a really tense game late by scoring 6 runs in the top of the 7th inning. It was tied at 2 going into that 7th inning before Oregon really blew it open. With the win, Oregon moved into a tie with UCLA in the Big Ten standings, and it meant that Oregon was going to have control of the tiebreaker if the teams were to split the latter 2 games. It made both the Ducks and UCLA 19-3 in the Big Ten at the time. Stephanie Maake ignited Oregon's offense with a pair of home runs. Elon Butler and Riley McCoy also homered for Oregon in the contest. Elise Sokolsky was masterful on the bump in this game. She kept a very potent Bruin lineup at bay until the offensive fireworks in the 7th ultimately were able to put Oregon on top. She allowed 2 runs on 7 hits and limited UCLA's record-setting power game to just 1 home run, which was a solo shot in the 5th inning. Elise Sokolsky improved to 8-2 on the season and is now 4-0 since returning from injury on April 18th. Elise Sokolsky said after the game, "I knew that we were going to break through at some point. I couldn't tell you if I had like a specific pin on whenever it was going to happen, but I knew that our offense was going to come through for us. I just trust them so much." Stephanie Maake, who had a big offensive day, praised the pitching in the circle about Elise Sokolsky. She said, "I just go back to the UW series of being behind her, shutting them down. It doesn't have to be a strikeout as long as you can trust your defense." It was kind of exciting to see her get so excited and just do her celebration of ripping off her mask. It feels like quintessential to Elise Sokolsky at this point when she gets out of a big inning, just ripping off that mask and getting fired up back to the dugout. That's been her signature. For Oregon, the victory was the 19th come-from-behind win of the season. It also snapped a 15-game winning streak for UCLA, and it was Oregon's first win in Westwood since 2019. A whole lot of streaks were broken in this first game for Oregon against UCLA on the softball diamond. These guys talked about the importance of starting fast, staying fast, and finishing fast. That was a quote from Coach Missy Lombardi. "I thought Elise was brilliant on the mound. I thought our defense was excellent, and I just love the timely hitting and the power that we showed throughout the lineup today." Coach Lombardi had some praise for her team across the board, both in the circle with Elise Sokolsky, and then at the plate, because there were some offensive fireworks in this game. Stephanie Maake, she went 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and 4 runs batted in the game. Riley McCoy, she's starting to get hot at the right time. She went 2 for 3 with a home run in this game, was a big factor early in this series against UCLA. Elon Butler in the game went 2 for 3 with a home run and a double, and this was sort of a record-setting weekend for Elon Butler. We'll take you through game by game of how Elon Butler was able to slot up multiple different leaderboards in Oregon history throughout the weekend. Elon Butler tied a couple of long-standing school records on Friday in the contest. Her double leading off the 7th inning was her 18th of the season, which tied the record set by Missy Coe in 1999. The same hit also tied Butler for the season record in total bases with 138 set by Jen Salling in 2007. She now owns or shares 3 season records of doubles, total bases, and extra base hits. Butler also moved into a tie for 3rd on the single-season home runs list with 17, and additionally, she is now 7th on the single-season RBI list with 57, and 7th on the runs list with 59. She wouldn't finish the weekend at 7th. More on that coming later when we continue to break down the weekend. Another quote from Coach Lombardi: "I just thought they stayed the course. You know, we know that we're not going to be able to come here and just get one big inning. We're going to have multiple innings, great defense, great pitching, and I just thought all 3 cylinders were firing today." That was the closing remarks on Coach Lombardi about an 8-2 comeback victory for Oregon, and it was a lot closer than 8-2. It was tied at 2 going into the 7th inning. Oregon broke it open late to get the first win of the weekend. The real fireworks happened on Saturday. A 13-11 victory for Oregon on Saturday. And it felt like whichever team would have the bat last was going to win. Ultimately, UCLA had the bat last, but Oregon's pitching was able to close out and somehow get the final 3 outs in the 7th, because it didn't feel like anybody was getting any outs in this ballgame. 13-11, the final score. Oregon scored the most runs it ever has against UCLA on Saturday. It was the 16th straight Big Ten series win for Oregon. The Ducks clinched the series with the 13-11 victory. Coach Lombardi talking about that series win streak, 16 straight wins. The Ducks haven't lost a series since joining the Big Ten. Think about that. The Ducks have been in the Big Ten for 2 years, and they haven't lost a series in Big Ten play. It's utterly ridiculous. Coach Lombardi said, we take a lot of pride in that 16 series win streak. It's something that we talk a lot about. So for these guys to get this series today, just a tremendous effort by our entire team. And it was, because Oregon won the series at Easton Stadium for the first time since 2015. It's been over a decade since the Ducks have won a series at UCLA, and the Ducks have now beaten UCLA in back-to-back series with the win at Jane Sanders Stadium last season and the win at Easton Stadium here this season with the series victory. With the win, it locked Oregon into the number 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. With Nebraska winning that series against Penn State, they ultimately swept Penn State. Nebraska will have the 1 seed, Oregon will have the 2 seed, UCLA will have the 3 seed. More on that Big Ten tournament to come. In this game, the 13-11 victory, Stephanie Maake, she went 4 for 5 and drove in 3 runs for Oregon. She tied her career high in hits in the ballgame with 4. In the first 2 games of this series, she went 7 for 9 with 7 runs batted in. I mean, and it felt like she only saw about 10 pitches. It was like the first pitch of every at-bat. It was just home run, double in the gap. It didn't matter. She was just knocking the ball into the outfield with runners on base, and most of the time they were coming in to score. Stephanie Maake, about her 7 for 9 showing in her first 2 games of the weekend. She said, it was kind of funny because Trinity Holden asked me, are you just seeing watermelons at the plate? And she was like, you know what? I'm just seeing the ball and hitting it. And so I think with my power, it's just about getting good barrel on it. And yeah, might as well throw a watermelon at her. At least they're a little bit heavier. She can't drive it as far because she had no trouble barreling up the softball throughout the course of the weekend. It was fun to watch Stephanie Maake. And when she is hot, it's a lot of fun to watch that ball fly off of her barrel. But she wasn't the only one who had a big offensive day. You scored 13 runs. You probably are going to have a lot of players who produce pretty well offensively, and Amari Harper was one of them. She went 3 for 4 in the game with a home run. It also was her tie for a career high in hits. It was her 15th home run of the season, which is now tied for 9th on the Oregon single-season list. Amari Harper, after the game, she said, I think it's huge, especially they don't lose very many games because UCLA doesn't lose very many games. So knowing that they're going to come out clawing and scratching for this one and just jumping on them from the jump and making them come out and play with us, it was awesome. And it was huge for us to kind of keep through the whole game. That was Amari Harper talking about the grit for Oregon in their victory, 13-11 over UCLA. 2 offensive stars in Maake and Harper, but also Katie Flannery contributed a home run. Addison Amaral off the bench delivered a very clutch pinch hit double that brought the Ducks back from a 6-3 deficit. This was a game of ebbs and flows throughout it. Oregon was down early, and then they had that big hit by Amaral to come back, and the offense just kept sputtering, or rather kept firing on all cylinders to jump out to a big lead, and UCLA almost came back, but ultimately Oregon was able to hold on because in addition to Amaral and her big pinch hit double, Kaylin Jones, Riley McCoy, and Diana Shaw also all had multi-hit games. It was a big offensive effort from the entire team on Saturday. The Ducks withstood 5 UCLA home runs in the game and chalked up their 20th come-from-behind victory of the season. Missy Lombardi said, I just loved our fight. This entire team did everything they needed to find a way to win that ball game. Our defense was excellent. They're so proud of our offense and how they kept passing the bat and flipping the lineup. I just loved our pitching staff. UCLA can absolutely swing it, and to work together to find a way to win was huge. Also in this game, keeping the note on Elon Butler and how she's moving up the rankings in so many different Oregon record books. In this game, she moved into a tie for fourth of single-season runs with 61 overall on the season as she scored 2 runs in the game. That's not where she would finish the weekend. More on that to come in game number 3. Ultimately, Oregon going for the sweep on Sunday couldn't get it done. An 11-3 loss for Oregon, but it was still a successful weekend. The 16th Big Ten Series win for Oregon, and really this game came down to a big second inning for UCLA in which Oregon committed 2 pretty costly errors that led to that big inning, and the Ducks fell 11-3 in 5 innings. The Ducks were run-ruled in this final game of the weekend. Elon Butler was the bright spot for Oregon in this game. She went 2 for 3 in the process and broke the school single-season record for total bases. She was in a tie for it after Friday's game, but in this game she broke it. A first-inning single was her 139th total base of the season, breaking that record by 138 that she tied on Friday. She finished the game with 140 total bases after her second hit of the game was also a single. She also scored a run in the fourth for her 62nd of the year, and that puts her alone in 4th place on the Oregon single-season list and is just 3 off of the school record. She's going to be at the top of a lot of single-season school records by the time this year is done. Coach Lombardi said about this game, it's hard to set aside today, but I like where we are as a team headed into the Big Ten tournament. I like what we're doing offensively. We're scoring a lot of runs, and I like our depth and approach on the mound. I think this team is really in a good place. That's the quote from Coach Lombardi after the series win, but the ultimate loss on Sunday for Oregon, and that does change the attention for the Ducks from this weekend against UCLA now into the Big Ten tournament, and it's a quick turnaround. I don't think we're going to be able to actually get Coach Lombardi on the show this week because the Big Ten tournament, it's in Maryland, and the Ducks start pretty soon. So after the weekend, let's first focus on the standings and where Oregon sits after this weekend because the Ducks were able to clinch the number 2 spot in the Big Ten. Nebraska won the conference at 23-1 in conference play. Oregon and UCLA both tied at 20-4, the Big Ten record. 20-4, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You're winning 5 out of every 6 games in conference play. That means you're sweeping one weekend and then winning the series the next. That's pretty good for Oregon. They won the tiebreaker over UCLA with the wins this weekend. Indiana was ultimately able to clinch that 4th and final bye into the quarterfinals with a 17-7 conference record. So Oregon with the number 2 spot in the Big Ten going into this Big Ten tournament. The Ducks will play on Thursday with Oregon going all the way to Maryland. That's the host school for the Big Ten tournament. The Ducks will play on Thursday. They will be the 3rd game of the day. So it will start with Indiana playing against the winner of the 5-12 matchup at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so 8 a.m. Pacific time. Then it will be Nebraska playing against the winner of the 8-9 matchup at 1:30 Eastern or 10:30 Pacific. Then it will be Oregon at 1:30 Pacific on Thursday, who will be playing against the winner of Wisconsin or Purdue, and then UCLA at 7 p.m. or 4 p.m. Pacific time playing against the winner of the 6-11 matchup. So Oregon, they will play the winner of Wisconsin or Purdue. That's the 7-10 matchup. That game will be on Wednesday, the Purdue-Wisconsin game. Then Oregon will play on Thursday. And if both Oregon and UCLA take care of business, well then how about we do a part 4 of what was a thrilling series over the course of this weekend. So the way that it will come about, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if Oregon can win all 3 games that they play in, they would be the Big Ten champions. Ducks just got to win 3 in a row at Maryland. And as we just mentioned, Oregon's 20-4 in conference play, which is, you win a series and then you sweep. So the Ducks just won the series against UCLA. Well, now it's time to win 3 in a row. That's what Oregon has to do in order to win the Big Ten coming up this weekend in Maryland for the Big Ten tournament. Also, today is a big day for some softball players in the AUSL because the draft is today. Now, you might have seen that Amari Harper got a golden ticket a few weeks ago. Here's what that means. So the AUSL draft is tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific on ESPN2. The college draft will feature 17 recipients for the golden tickets where they will find their new home. So the way that the golden ticket system actually worked is the draft won't be happening in live time tonight for the AUSL. they've already drafted, which is why these players have gotten their golden tickets. The AUSL, their teams, they have 6 teams in the league. The Carolina Blaze have the first overall pick, Texas Volts, Oklahoma City Spark, Portland Cascade, Chicago Bandits, and Utah Talons. Those are the 6 teams in that order is their picks. They have already met. They've already drafted. The way that the draft works is a little bit like the MLB draft model. You have to have at least 2 picks. So you have to draft in the first round and the second round. And then you can basically draft for as long as you want past that until each team then passes. So the way that it works, 6 picks in the first round, 6 picks in the second round, and ultimately 17 players got drafted. So at least one team passed in the third round. Only 5 players got drafted after those first 2 rounds. Don't know. There could be one team who picked 4 players and a couple of teams who only picked 2. We don't know. We don't know where anybody's going yet, but we do know that there are 17 players that have already been selected, including Oregon's Amari Harper. We just don't know where. That's what we will be finding out tonight on ESPN2, a 4 o'clock draft for Oregon softball player Amari Harper and so many others around the rest of the country in the AUSL draft. Now, you might have seen after the game at Jane Sanders Stadium on Sunday, well, I thought that Elise Sokolsky and Lindsey Grine and Elon Butler, they were announced as reserved. They are. That's different than the AUSL draft. So we know that tonight Amari Harper is getting her name called. Those other 3 athletes will be part of the AUSL reserve pool, which means that they will be essentially sort of like free agent types, where if there's injuries in the league or they want to be called up mid-season, then those 3 players of Grine, Sokolsky, and Butler are in that reserve pool. So they are eligible to play, but their names will not be called tonight for the AUSL draft. We will see Amari Harper get drafted. I'm very excited for it with the AUSL draft on ESPN2 tonight. She could be the first overall pick. She could be the 17th pick. She could go to any one of the 6 teams. I'm excited to see the AUSL draft and how it works over the course of the night coming up tonight. A big series win for Oregon softball against UCLA. The first time since 2015 that the Ducks have gotten a series win down in Westwood. Oregon baseball has had a bit more recent success against Washington. Still always nice to win the series against your rival. Talking about the Ducks on the Diamond, Part 2 when we come back on Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
We know you turn to the Duck Store for all your game day needs. And for students at the University of Oregon, it's even more. Class supplies, jobs, a seat on our board, a place to take a quick coffee break. Because we're your student-first, non-profit college store, every purchase you make directly supports the very community we serve. From working at our counters to studying in the classroom, from directing our stores to cheering in the stands, the people we serve, the students, are the very people who are the Duck Store.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
In sitcoms, when someone has a problem, they just blurt it out and move on.
Well, I lost my job and my parakeet is missing. How was your day?
But the real world is different. Managing life's challenges can be overwhelming. So, what do? We get support. The Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council have mental health resources available for you at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. See how much further you can go when you take care of your mental health.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Monday. We just talked a lot of Oregon softball. Going to continue to talk about it because on YouTube, Eric asks, can Oregon host a regional in the NCAA softball tournament? I think it's possible. Talking for myself now, I think it is certainly possible. I think it's very plausible. And I think after this weekend, Oregon is setting themselves up to potentially be one of the top 8 seeds to host in the NCAA postseason. Now, where does Oregon's resume sit? The Ducks are 9th in the RPI. That's a very important number. Oregon is 40-11 overall, and the Ducks scheduled a very difficult non-conference schedule. So where last year Oregon's ranking was high, but the Ducks didn't get as high of a seed as the rankings, I think that might be the inverse this year because Oregon scheduled so difficult in the non-conference. Now, I'm looking at that 8 seed line for Oregon on if the Ducks can be one of those top 8 seeds and be in position to not only host a regional, but if Oregon can get through their regional, also be in position to host a super regional. Well, one of the teams above Oregon is UCLA, who is 7th in the RPI. This updated as of yesterday. So these are the new RPI rankings. UCLA is 45-7, but as we just talked about, Oregon just got the series win over UCLA. So I think that what could be a potential rematch between these two teams coming up on Friday, if both Oregon and UCLA take care of business in their first game of the Big Ten tournament, I think that Friday may be a potential play into a top 8 seed type of game for both Oregon and UCLA. I think the Big Ten tournament is going to be incredibly important for the seeding for the Ducks. I think that Oregon, regardless of what happens, should be in very strong position to host a regional. I think if Oregon has a good weekend in Maryland this weekend and gets a win over UCLA, 3 wins to 1 loss on the season in a head-to-head comparison, I think it'd be very difficult for the committee to put UCLA above Oregon in that scenario. So that answers your question. Also in softball news, announced literally, 3 minutes ago, Stephanie Maake. We just talked about how great she was this weekend. She earned the Big Ten Player of the Week honors. She was awesome. We just talked about how good Stephanie Maake was in Oregon Series win against UCLA, and she's been rewarded for it. Seeing watermelons at the plate, Stephanie Maake just mashing softballs over the fence, extra base hits, doesn't matter, driving in runs. Stephanie Maake, a well-deserved Big Ten Player of the Week nod for Oregon softball. The Ducks got a rivalry victory on the diamond for softball. Oregon also got a rivalry victory on the diamond for the Duck baseball team. Oregon against Washington. They won 2 of 3, just like the softball team did. And first, we're starting on Friday. It was another type of back and forth, tight margin type of victory in this series, just like it was for Oregon softball. The Ducks won 6-4 on Friday behind 2 really clutch late home runs from Berkeley Mabius and Junior Lawaki, who both hit 8th inning home runs. Oregon's relief pitchers were stellar in this game. The Ducks combined for 5 2/3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen to get the 6-4 come-from-behind victory over Washington on Friday night. The Huskies led 4-2 headed into the 8th inning thanks to a pair of spectacular defensive plays by the Huskies. I texted Joey, and I was like, oh, my goodness. Joey was up in Seattle on the call, and I was watching the game. And I was like, Joey, what are we supposed to do? Because Jack Brooks hit a ball over the fence. It looked like it was going to be a game-tying 2-run home run in the 7th inning. And it got robbed by Aiden Daughtry at the fence. And then in the 8th inning, it looked like Oregon was going to be in for a big inning. And with a runner on first, Sam DiCarlo, the shortstop, made a leaping grab to take a hit away from Drew Smith, which would have put 2 on with nobody out. Luckily for Oregon, that one catch by their shortstop didn't stifle what was eventually a big 8th inning because Oregon Todd Miles wrote this in the recap. I think this is a great sentence. The 2 defensive plays only put off the pain Oregon was going to inflict on the Huskies. Good sentence, Todd, because after Smith was robbed, Angel Laya picked up his 2nd hit of the game, putting runners on the corners, and then Berkeley maybe a step to the plate and launched a 3-run home run over the right field wall to give Oregon the lead. Junior Lawaki, the very next batter, just 4 pitches later, hit a moonshot that I think landed in Montlake in Union Bay because he hit a ball that traveled 433 feet with an exit velo of 113 miles per hour. I mean, that was launched for Junior Lawaki. Talking about players, when the ball hits their barrel, it just goes a long way. I think there's some comparison to be made between Stephanie Maake on the softball diamond and Junior Lawaki on the baseball diamond. That's some powerful bats for the both of them. Talking about the offense, they were only in position to have this 8th inning because of the bullpen, who was stellar. Tanner Bradley came out of the pen to get the final 6 outs of the game to pick up his first career save, but he followed a long line of very strong relievers for Oregon. Gabe Howard, he tossed a scoreless 7th inning to pick up the win. Also, Ryan Cooney, he was out with an injury in the game against Gonzaga. He came back and returned to the lineup over the course of this week, and good to see him back. Tyler Jones made a second consecutive start in left field and the second of his career. Will Sanford, he wasn't great in this ball game. 3 1/3 innings. It was his second shortest outing of the season, but Oregon picked him up behind him, and Junior Lawaki did a great job for Oregon. A 3-hit day. The Ducks only had 6 hits in the game. Lawaki had 3, Laya had 2, but the Ducks strung the hits together when they needed it. Oregon got a 6-4 win on Friday. Berkeley Mabius with the big swing in the ball game. He was talking with Tom Miles, breaking down how Oregon was able to get a Friday win.
All right, Burke, big swing at a big time. Tell me about the whole thing and the emotion that came with it.
Yeah, I think it was a big inning. Started off with Angel getting on and putting a good swing on a ball, and having teammates before me put together really good at bats, and so we can be in that spot with 2 guys on and in scoring position, and I came up with 2 outs, and I was just looking for something middle in and elevated, and I got that pitch and wasn't trying to do too much with it, and put a good swing on it.
They robbed Jack the inning before of a home run, and then they took one away from Drew at shortstop. Nice line drive. Was it kind of going in the wrong direction there, and you felt the need to turn it around?
No, I mean, they were just playing good baseball, and I think this was one of those games that we were really going to have to earn, especially with how they were playing defense and pitching as well. There was definitely a good strategy to the way they were pitching us today, and so it just required a gritty win and a team win for sure, and I think that's what we're good at. We play good team baseball, and we were able to pull this one off.
I like that word from Berkeley Mabius. It was a gritty win on Friday for Oregon to get the first game of the series against Washington. Then that led into Saturday. And Oregon, it felt like a pretty similar game on Saturday like it was on Friday, but the Ducks exploded for more offense late. A 10-4 victory for the Ducks, and this was Maddox Maloney doing a lot of really good things for Oregon. This felt like the Maddox Maloney game. He belted a pair of home runs and drove in 6, while Oregon's bullpen came up big again to help the Ducks to that 10-4 win on Saturday. Maddox Maloney, he went 3 for 3 with a 2-run home run, a solo home run, and a 2 RBI single. And in addition to that, he also drove in a run on a sacrifice fly. The home runs for Maddox Maloney were the 34th and 35th of his career. Maddox sitting in 4th place all time in the Oregon home run leaderboard with Jacob Walsh, Mason Neville, and Tanner Smith, the only Ducks that have ever hit more home runs than Maddox Maloney in a career. Maddox up to 35 now. The 2-home run game was the 7th multi-home run game for Maddox Maloney on his career, and his 6 RBI matched a career high. I mean, he was awesome. The 6 RBI, it outpaced Washington. Basically, Oregon could have won with only Maddox Maloney's offense, but they didn't need it because Angel Laya added a 3-run home run in this game, and he also scored 2 runs of his own. The home run for Angel Laya, the 13th of his freshman campaign, as he continues to extend that freshman home run lead for Oregon. Drew Smith finished the game with 3 hits and a pair of runs scored, and for the second game in a row, Oregon's bullpen did not allow a run while tossing at least 5 innings. Leo Ullman got the win, his second of the season after tossing a scoreless 5th. Jonah Barkov, Cal Scolari, and Devin Bell all threw at least a scoreless inning, with Bell getting the final 5 outs of the game. It was great to see Jonah Barkov make his season debut against Gonzaga on Tuesday. He's now into the fold in this bullpen, and good to see Cal Scolari back. It's his first appearance back since leaving a start a few weeks back. Left with a trainer. Waz kept saying, yeah, he's okay. We're going to continue to see him, get him back. And on the Toyota Coaches Corner going into Sunday, Coach Wazikowski talking about Cal Scolari, he was like, yeah, it takes a little bit after you're out to ramp back up. But he came in, and he threw a scoreless inning, and he looked pretty good doing it. So it was great to see Cal Scolari back, and it's a great luxury to have a guy like Miles Gostola, who would throw on Sunday. We'll talk about him in a second. and have Cal Scolari continue to work his way back. Oregon in a pretty good spot, winning the first 2 games of the series. Dominic Hellman in this game made his 100th career start, joining Drew Smith, Maddox Maloney, and Ryan Cooney as the 4 Ducks on this team in the 100 start club. Oregon has now won 23 of 25 series since joining the Big Ten in 2025, and the Ducks have now won 7 in a row against the Huskies and 8 in a row overall. Really 23 of 25 overall series, not just Big Ten series, but you combine the 25, so 23 of 25. Scott, do some math with me. What's that, 41? 25 plus 16 is 41 series? And the Ducks have won 39 of them between baseball and softball. That's pretty good for Oregon. Ducks, 7 wins in a row against Washington and 8 wins in a row overall after that win on Saturday. Maddox Maloney, one heck of a performance for Maddox Maloney. He spoke with Todd Miles after Oregon's win on Saturday.
All right, Maddox, big night tonight. Obviously, a couple of home runs, 6 ribbies. Just talk about the effort out there.
Yeah, it was just another night. Had my approach. Wanted to compete today, so did the whole team, and like that shows through and through.
Talk to me about this lineup. It's like almost every game it's a different dude. Just talk about 1 through 9, what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's that way because we have a lot of players here that can play at this level and exceed at this level. So just the 9 you're seeing isn't the guys we got. We got a lot more waiting to come in and get their opportunity.
We saw a little bit of depth on display throughout the course of the weekend. It was good to see Maddox Maloney have a really strong game. He's starting to put things together here down the stretch of this season. Maddox Maloney, he stifled a little bit early. He didn't have a multi-hit game in conference play until the Illinois weekend, and then he hit a home run in every single one of those games and had multiple hits in every single one of those games. And now he's having another big game against Washington. It feels like Oregon's shortstop is putting it together at the right time. In this game, actually, Coach Wazakowski moved Maddox Maloney down to the 8 spot in the lineup. And he basically talked about it. He was like, yeah, sometimes, you just gotta move one of your best hitters down and so that they, feel what it's like in the bottom of the lineup. Maybe start thinking about something different. Stop thinking about all the pressure that's put on him. Felt like Maddox Maloney was playing pretty pressure-free in that game on Saturday. Oregon was going for the sweep on Sunday. Ultimately, the Ducks could not get it done. A 9-5 loss on Sunday for Oregon, and it was really one inning. A 7-run 6th inning for Washington and a slow start at the plate ultimately led to Washington salvaging a game in this series finale. The Ducks' 8-game winning streak and 7-game winning streak against Washington both came to an end. It's the first time Washington has gotten a single win against Oregon since the teams joined the Big Ten. Braden Jackson recorded his 4th 3-hit game of the year and 7th multi-RBI performance of his freshman campaign. Drew Smith finished the series 5 for 14 at the plate. Oregon got their best start of the weekend with Miles Gastoli through 4 2/3 of 2-run ball, but ultimately Gastola earned the loss in this game, suffering his first loss over his last 5 appearances since he's really been implemented as a starter for Oregon. Ultimately, it was the bullpen that got taxed on Friday and Saturday because the Ducks didn't have as good of starting pitching performances in the first 2 games of the series. Oregon then late had one big inning where the bullpen couldn't get out of it, and ultimately it led to 1-game loss here on Sunday, but Oregon still wins the series against Washington. And coming down the stretch run of the year, Oregon is in a very interesting spot. UCLA, they've already clinched first place in the conference, 24-0. They haven't lost a game in conference. Then it's Nebraska at 17-7, Oregon at 17-7. The Ducks own the tiebreaker over Nebraska. USC is at 19-8. Actually, even though this graphic looks like the Ducks are ahead of the Trojans are actually a half game ahead of Oregon because USC does not play a Big Ten series coming up next weekend. They will go non-conference before playing Oregon in the final weekend of the season. Then Michigan and Purdue at 15-9. So essentially there's 3 spots for 5 teams because the top 4 teams get a bye into the quarterfinal, and Oregon plays against USC and UCLA, who are both in that mix. So the way that things are shaking out towards this back end of the year, ultimately USC has 3 games left. They're all against Oregon. Nebraska plays Iowa and Minnesota down the stretch run of the season. Purdue plays Indiana and Iowa in the final 2 weekends of the year. And Michigan plays Minnesota and Ohio State. The Ducks hold the tiebreaker over both Nebraska and Purdue, but Michigan holds the tiebreaker over Oregon. Regardless of what happens in the UCLA series, the Ducks, if they sweep USC, will be able to get the tiebreaker over USC and ultimately past them in the standings because that's the only series left for USC. If the Ducks get at least one win against UCLA, then Oregon, all they need to do is win the series against USC to be in the driver's seat going into the final weekend of the year. To put it simply, Oregon is rooting for Iowa and Minnesota to get wins over some of the other teams over the course of this weekend to help the Ducks out in the standings, and Oregon controls their own destiny. Get wins. And going into the final weekend of the year, regardless of what happens, Oregon will control their own destiny to be one of those top 4 teams and get the bye in the Big Ten tournament. A lot coming up for Oregon baseball. Some schedule changes, though. There were supposed to be games both tomorrow and Wednesday against Grand Canyon. Those games have been canceled, so the next games coming up are coming up this weekend against UCLA on the road. Oregon softball has had a great series down against UCLA on the road. Oregon will be going down and trying to hand UCLA their first Big Ten losses of the season. Also, some scheduling notes for the final weekend of the year. At PK Park against USC, coming up between May 14th through 16th. The game on Thursday has been moved back to 7 p.m. So the game times for that series, 7 on Thursday, 6 on Friday, and 3 on Saturday. That's May 14th, 15th, and 16th for Oregon against USC in the final Big Ten series of the year headed into postseason play. Taking a time out and talking some Oregon football when we return on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey campers, it's Jan from Toyota. This summer, we're headed to Camp Toyota, and the fun starts now. Your summer starts here.
Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends June 1st. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey campers, it's Jan from Toyota. This summer, we're headed to Camp Toyota, and the fun starts now. Your summer starts here.
Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends June 1st. Toyota, let's go places.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now. Don't forget to say you will. Don't forget to say yeah.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you on a Monday. And I did not know that the Oregon creative team for the football team was going to drop a Ducks versus them over the weekend. That was such a pleasant surprise to get a Ducks versus – it wasn't a Ducks versus them because it was a Ducks versus Ducks spring game edition for Oregon football. And we got to see a lot of feature about the atmosphere at Autzen Stadium, but also about a ton of the returnees who came back to Autzen Stadium. And it was cool on the Oregon Sports Network broadcast with Dusty Hara roaming the sidelines. He was getting a couple of interviews down there, and we got to talk to a few guys who were having some big moments. Bryce Betcher got drafted that day and then came to the Oregon Spring. That's the great thing about having a local kid is you can have a draft party at your house. and then you can drive 5 minutes over to where you play ball, and you can get on the video board, and everybody's serenading you around. It was so cool to talk with Bryce Betcher. Dusty Hara caught up with him, as well as Jeffrey Bossa, who was down there as well, who just spent his first season in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. So both of these guys, linebackers in the NFL, and Bryce had just got drafted when Dusty went down and got this interview, hearing from two stellar Oregon middle linebackers, the lineage of the room with Bryce Betcher and Jeffrey Bossa.
Down here with Bryce Betcher and Jeffrey Bossa right here. We'll grab him for a couple quick ones too. Bryce, earlier today, you get your name called in the NFL draft. What was that feeling like finding out you were going to become an Indianapolis Colt?
It was incredible, man. Obviously a little nerves and excitement all in between, but a cool moment with my family and, blessed to be a Colt.
It's been a long time since you've been a fan watching a Duck game in this stadium. How's it feel to be back here on the sidelines watching the guys that you played with for 4 years?
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool to come back. Obviously, it's a little bittersweet seeing my boys take the field out there. We get to hang out with great alumni like Jeff Bossa right here. So good to be in a different department, but it's been good.
Now, this is going to be both guys in the AFC now. Has Jeff given you a couple tips of what life in the NFL is like now?
That's funny. Right as you came up and asked for the interview, we were talking just about ball. So, he knows everything there is to know about it right now. So.
And Jeff Bossa now with the Kansas City Chiefs. What was that first year like for you and in the progress and development?
It was great. Honestly, learning NFL playbook, learning NFL special teams and defensive playbook is a lot, right? And you're being thrown in the fire, right? But then you also you have a chance to learn from vets and guys in front of you like Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Leo Chanel, who's at the Commanders now. So it was great, and I feel like Oregon prepared me a lot for that because running an NFL defense here, it really transitioned easy for me. And headed into my year two, it's been great. It's been amazing. So,
and now, one thing is Evan Stewart just scores a big touchdown. What's it feel like for you to see the guy you played alongside get drafted into the NFL and join you in that brotherhood in the league?
It's absolutely amazing. Like, I remember just when he came in as a safety. And, there's times at practice where he kind of got to tell this kid slow down because he's going too hard. But that's just the type of guy he is, man. And, I'm so glad that, everybody is being able to see that now. And, even after I was gone, him still, over here leading the defense, doing what he does best. And it's an amazing moment, right? So he actually FaceTimed me because, he was just nervous about the draft and wanted to chop it up. So, a couple days before the draft. But, to hear his name called, man, a great team, great organization, it's like, wow, man, I'm truly proud of, him and his development and where he's came, bro. It's a true brother to me. So, yeah, it's amazing, man. It's great.
You guys ready to be rivals now?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to get a pick. Well, I guess you wouldn't be trying to talk me if I got a pick. We're both on maybe special teams. We'll see each other on special teams.
For sure. Not this year, but hey, yep.
Jeff Bossa, Bryce Betcher, congratulations on taking that next step into the NFL and getting to the league for you last year, Jeff. And now, Bryce, the next step for you, a new chapter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
It was so cool to hear from the lineage of the Oregon linebacker room. Two guys who shared a room together and now are both professionals in the AFC together. Bryce, right after he got drafted, that was awesome. But they weren't the only Duck alumni who were at the spring game. We're hearing from one of the coaches when we return on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
When life blindsides you with an injury, you need a team that's tough. For over 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people. This season, we're proud to partner with Oregon Athletics. Because whether it's on the field or in the courtroom, we're both determined to do what it takes to win. Morgan & Morgan, proud partner of Oregon Athletics. Injured? Dial pound law. Morgan & Morgan, 10150 Southwest 6th Avenue, Portland. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch our soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I want you to know. I said I want you to know right now. You've been good to me, baby. Better than I've been to myself.
Back inside the Country Connection Studio, it's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. We just heard from some defensive players that have recently gotten drafted. Well, an offensive player who not only recently got drafted, but also did some coaching on the sidelines of Autzen Stadium. It's always great to have Tez Johnson back at Autzen, and it felt like he enjoyed the moment as well. Dusty Harrow was catching up with the former Duck wide receiver, Tez Johnson.
Down here with a guy who's excited to be here, Tez Johnson. What does it mean for you to come back and be a part of this day in this spring game?
It's awesome. I mean, coming back to your alma mater is pretty special. We still pack out the stadium every spring game, so I love seeing that, seeing the shout. And I guess that wasn't my last time seeing the shout for my senior year, but it's been awesome.
You know, this wide receiver group, you've been engaged with them, you've been talking with them. What do you think about these receivers that have come in the wave behind you?
I always thought Oregon receivers was just slept on. They don't get the recognition they deserve. And it's some really good guys in this receiver room. You got Evan Stewart, you got DK, which is really a good receiver. That two duo right there is phenomenal. Jalen McQuillan. And you got the young guys that just in here and they're just buying in, like Jack Wrestler and all those guys. So it's elite. I feel like they should get more recognition than what they deserve.
Your energy has been contagious all up and down this field. What's about football game day, that kind of spirit that you bring? When did that start for you?
I mean, it comes down to, do you really love the game of football? Since a kid, like if it wasn't for any money or any like Hollywood, anything, do you really love it? Like, I really love football, and no matter what, I don't think that love will ever just go away. This is my passion. This is what I do for a living, and seeing guys that come up and playing in the number jersey that you've been in, and same offenses, and the guys just getting opportunities because it's elite. I love it.
Did you have to tell Messiah Hampton that you got a little bit to live up to in that 1-5?
Oh, yeah, I definitely told him that. I was just like, put on for the jersey, man. Like, I'm not the guy that say, no, you can't wear this jersey. What a jersey. I mean, records is meant to be broken. So, I mean, next guy that break a record here for reception leaders, I salute to him, and I definitely tell him he got full credit for it.
Well, looking around here, you were still just as popular when you were wearing green and yellow. Now that you're wearing pewter and red, congratulations, Tez. We're all rooting for you in Tampa, man.
Thank you so much. Go Ducks.
It was so fun to see the energy of Tez Johnson on the sideline. If you haven't watched the Ducks versus Ducks that was released yesterday, Tez Johnson heavily featured, and I think rightfully so. Great to see everybody back for the spring game at Autzen Stadium. We're taking a timeout. There were still a lot of big things that happened over the course of the weekend, including a school record. Talking about it when we return on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Hey, Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Talked a lot about Oregon softball and baseball, which had big weekends and series wins against UCLA and Washington, respectively. But there were a couple other schools that were, or rather, a couple other teams that were in action this weekend for Oregon. First, starting with Oregon Track and Field, who set a school record over the course of the weekend. They were in two different places, but down in Arizona, a 4x100 meter relay school record for the Ducks on the track. They set 7 top 10 Oregon marks and collected 8 wins at the Desert Heat Classic in Tucson, Arizona, and the 4x100 was the headliner. It was Kai Graves Blanks, PJ Izeyamu, Grant Valley, and Jalen Barbaran, who were the quartet who combined for the school record of a 38.59 in the 4x100. It replaced the previous Oregon record of 38.72 that was set by the 2019 Pac-12 champions, also run on that same track down in Tucson, Arizona. Based on the times entering the weekend, that time for Oregon of the 38.59 is the NCAA lead in the 4x100 meter relay, but for those sprinters, it was not the end of their weekend because Graves Blanks put in 2 more top 10 marks in the Oregon record book, where he finished in 9th in the 200 meter, the 9th for Oregon all time in the 200 meter. He finished 4th place in this meet. He ran a 20.59 200 meter dash, and then in the 110 meter hurdles, he clinched a victory at the Desert Heat Classic, and also the second best time for Oregon ever, a personal best in both of those events for Kai Graves Blanks. In the 110 hurdles, a 13.28 to take the top spot. PJ Izeyamu also got number 4 all-time in the 100-meter dash. Also, Oregon men's golf closing up at the Big Ten Championships. They finished in a tie for 12th overall at 22 over par. And Oregon volleyball just released their opponents for the 2026 season. A lot going on. We're back again tomorrow. Joey's got you. Big weekend. Go Ducks.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who